So here I am ready to start 1889. See if I can get a little bit done before I have to go to bed. Then tomorrow it's probably screwed. I don't get to play, but that's okay. So first of all, there are some other differences. One thing I noticed is I've got this kind of cheat sheet here, and it seems to indicate that the game ends if the corporation reaches $300. Well, there is no actual $300 value on here, and I can find nothing referring to that in the rules, so I'm going to just ignore that. Secondly, there's actually 7 private companies. I went through them all. It's a little different. So we're going to go through the normal kind of bidding operation that I go through. One of the issues here is the rule of the 5 players in 1830 and in most of the 18XX games. Well, most of them give you 6 private companies. If there's 5 players, if you buy one, you're sure to get 2 of the privates, and that's almost always a good deal. So the 6th player is going to pick up this crappy little tram just with the thought that that's generally a good move. Now, another factor here is, again, unlike 1830, it's not a fixed amount of money between all the players. It's a different amount. So 5 or 6 players both get $390. 4 or less players get $420. So the ability to start companies, the amount of cash available for that is going to change on the different game on the different number of players. Of course, that is somewhat perhaps modified in the beginner game by there being certain privates removed, but in the full game that wouldn't be the case. So I don't know. So now I've got to decide on this second player what he's going to do. There are 6 companies left. I'm going to roll a die to see which one he's interested in. He's interested in the first one. He'll just pay his $30 for that straight up. And no, we're not going to be watching every single detail of the game. But in some sense, this way of playing is really just exploratory. You can't figure out an XX game on the first playing, and you got to kind of guess what the best moves are, and this is how I usually kind of try to crack them early on. So this guy's going to bid $50 on this 4th company. That puts me over to here. Nobody's going to get a second company here. Okay, so here I'm going to pick whichever one I think is best, and unfortunately I can't really read those little cards. They're just too tiny for my eyes these days. So I'm going to look at what I have available. Emery is going to give me a special green tile on Ozu. Now Ozu was, I think there was an H in there. Well, this is the closest thing, and it says ME Railway, so I'm guessing the rules are a little wrong there as to what that is. So I would be able to upgrade this space. That means if I had this brown railway, well, I have to kind of look, and we got this weird round marker here. We got a lot of tracking information here that I don't know what it's all for. It looks like you're supposed to put circles in it. Here's the operating rounds. I guess in different phases. Yeah, in the first phase we have stock, then operating. Stock, operating, operating. When the 3 train is sold. Maybe. Stock, operating, operating. Once we're in there. Okay, so this is the information for the turn track. 6 means I'm going to make what I think is the best move. Now, for me, I like this kind of move here. So player, unfortunately, player 2 put 50 5 on this actually, so he's got to put, you got to bid higher than the initial value. And this guy's going to put 150 down, or 155 down on the big guy. Generally, the big rail is worthwhile. There's a little bit less money in this game, but that's okay. I think the floating values go down to 65. It should all even out. Player 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's also going to bid on that big one. We had a 155 bid. I'm not going to have people putting overage bids. He's going to go 160, and I'll move that here. You know what I should do? I should do this. Mark players with some of these for now, just to help me keep track, because I don't have any bidding space markers or anything like that. The 6th player says, I like number 3, this Dogo Railroad. Owning player can exchange the private for 10% of the EU. Okay, I know what that is. Those are kind of cool, and that's going to cost me 65 bucks. And we're up to brown, so he'll mark that there. Now we're on the first player. Now, if I don't buy this second shitty railroad, I may get one of these others. Something gives me an EO, I don't know. This is pretty nice. I'm going to split on this. Do I want this, or do I want a shot at one of these others? This one seems like a good deal. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, and then 3. I'll open it up to anything. I get a 2. I'm going to actually put a bid down on this, and that's going to be 85 bucks. And I'll mark that kind of this way, sort of, kind of. Now I'm on this guy, and he has an option for a second railway. He wasn't supposed to get that. If he buys this, they all fall, and this one will be fought over by 2 people. That's appealing. Alternatively, though, I could go into another railway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a 1 through 5, and on a 6, I'll go with the ME. I get a 5. Do I really want to go for this big thing? You know, it's the big hitter is always good. Yeah, we will. And we're going to put that up. That's 100. With 3 markers, it's 150, 160, 165 he owes. That puts it to this guy. If he wants this, he should buy this. Guarantee himself something. He was bidding 55. He's going to owe 95 for these 2 railways. And that's, you know, no way I'm going to pass on that. I'm just going to buy those right up and grab them. And that gets me the 2 companies. And now we got a couple more people who immediately drop. This guy is the only guy who bid on this. He's going to get it for 65. And that cash is shifted over. And that means he's going to get this for 85. And he gets his second rail as well. 85 bucks. That'll give me 20 back. We're going to have trouble with this money if I'm viewing things over. And now we got 3 people in here. Who bought the last thing? Was this guy, I believe? I don't remember. Yeah. Which means pink has the first option to go up. Now this is right now at 165. Do I want to go up to 170? Nah, I'm going to pass out of it. Wise, probably not, but this guy, 170? Yes. Orange, 175? No. So this is going to go I'm sorry, not oranges over there. This is going to go for $170, which doesn't sound too bad, to tell you the truth, but it doesn't have specials. This is not the Camden and Amboy, okay? So it may make sense. Although it's a big hit, it doesn't come with that extra $100 of stock that the CNA tends to, well, not 100, but 67 or whatever. It could be 100, but chances are it's not. That means this guy was the last to go, so over here, he's going to have a chance to start a company. I'm going to have to look and think about all the companies, the kind of money it costs to float one. I believe it's 50% to float in this game, as opposed to the 60. Another thing. Five shares sold, 50%, not 60%. Yeah. So that it's actually easier to start companies in this than 1830. So I was mistaken about that. Something in the back of my head told me that had changed. All right, well, I'm going to put some thought to that and see what each of these different railways has. Now, unfortunately, the situation with this tight little board, all these privates and everything, this doesn't, strike me in the way that as easy to quickly absorb what the different positions are and what the different corporations are worth. So it is going to take me some thought in a way that, when I picked up 1861 recently, I didn't really feel that kind of problem. I certainly did with 53 on the other side. 18AL, 18GA, those they looked obvious. The map looks alien to me in some ways. Let's take a look at the examination. Because this guy decided to spend $150 buying 2 shares of this. He's got enough cash to float it at 50%, which is what is needed. Yeah. So, why this one? Because it starts here. It's a $40 city. It's got a quick 20 and a 20, so I could eventually run a 3 train through here. I got another train that could run down here early, and conceivably down here. So the way I'm looking at it is I've got the potential to run big. It's going to cost a lot of money, so I started it as high as I possibly could. I usually like to do that. Now this next guy here, his cash remaining, he only has $64. So he doesn't have enough to start a company because 65 is the beginning of company starters on his own. If he could get somebody to agree to start a company, that would be great. But generally, I'm very hesitant to work with someone in something of that nature early on in the game. So most of my players are the same sort of way. They kind of want to go it alone. He certainly doesn't want to buy a certificate of this right off because first round certificate always kind of loses money. Better to leave things open, so he's just going to pass. There's no priority deal marker. I'm going to use one of these extra tokens for that. I'm using one over here for the round marker. Okay, what about this guy? He has only 325. That's clearly not enough to start a company. Let's look. Because, oh wait, this guy only has 320. 325 may be enough. Okay, yes, he has enough to start a company at 65. So what's the second best place? Well, this is very rich, this Kochi here. And that, I believe, is going to be this presidency here. Tosa Electric starts there. That is not as rich as Ujawimi. Takamatsu is also kind of rich. Other places are less appealing because they don't have a big city to begin with. This has a dot next to it, not an actual city. There's a city down here, which of course this guy could run a couple of trains pretty quickly. There aren't a whole hell of a lot of trains, are there? There's 6 of them. Yeah, that's pretty usual. So at 65, I don't want to be building a lot of stuff. This doesn't have a lot of easy access. This might. It's basically, you know, approximately equal decisions in my view. Let's look at the company charters. That'll help my decision. This is a big one, whereas TOSA has 3 dots. This has 3 dots. So these are actually the equivalent companies to me. Wow, this one sucks. That's TKT, which is down here. Wow, that's a really crappy looking little company. Room for outward growth in the long run. They both look appealing. Let's see what our rich places are, although we may not care about this. Takamatsu is up here. Kochi's down here. So these are rich places. Ooh, Kochira. That's the valuable place in the long run. Where is Kochira? I'm not seeing it. This is really tough for me because Kochira's down here. Given the overall wealth, I'm going to go with Takamatsu, figuring it'll be better in the long run. I may not want it in the long run. And we're going to open that up down at the near 65. And I'll cut there, pay out some money, and look at who's going next. Oh, I gotta worry about these damn things. Okay, so this is Drogo. That gives me EU Railroad. Who's EU? Totally unfamiliar with anything in this game. That's Awa. EU is orange, and EU is way over here. I don't view that as a major concern, but if anything, both of these look like they have about the same kind of distance to it. So any kind of working together with that. Chances are that's just a share. So who's this next guy? South EU Railroad. This doesn't mean anything. Only the owner of this can use the tile in Takamatsu. How much cash do I have? Not a lot. 285. I'm not going to be able to start a company on my own, but maybe I can cut a deal with this guy because he has a ton of money. The reason being, where was Takamatsu? Shit. Takamatsu's over here. So the reason that I might want to start a company is there just aren't that many people who have a ton of money. This guy has 360. He's certainly going to be starting something. This guy has less than 300. He will probably not unless a deal is come to. So one more company starting means 3 companies. I have probably enough money to buy into 3 companies. I'm going to start investing now. I know people have enough money to buy their stuff. So I'm most interested in getting Takamatsu track built up because I'm the guy who can lay stuff there, I guess. So I will buy a $65 share of that. And that is, Jesus, I can't figure it out. Takamatsu was this one. He should have bought that. And I'll buy a certificate of that. This guy with his tons of money, he has this Mitsubishi Ferry. He gets to place the port tile in a coastal town without a tile on it, already outside of the operating rounds of a company controlled by another player. So I can do it at any point, I think, that another player is not taking his operating round. So I can break in between other people's operating rounds, if I wish. The player need not control a company or have connectivity to the placed tile from one of their companies. This does not close the corporation or the company. That's kind of neat. Of course, to do this, well, if I need not control a company, I can do this power without controlling the company, without it sold to a corporation. So, private companies A and C in the hands of player prevent people. Private companies can be bought for half to double. Oh, here's another thing. You can't sell private companies to other players in this. Each private held by a player counts as a certificate. Okay. Owning player may exchange for share. Does not close while owned by a player. Okay. So most of these strike me as their abilities aren't really too much in terms of corporations, except for the blocking stuff. So this one would give me some control over a bonus in one of these ports. Well, that's hard to call. I mean, this little port doinker is a very valuable little starting city. More valuable than other things. And as far as I can tell, I can use this ability before the game even really, before I get into Zone 3, because I don't have to sell it to a corporation. So, if I'm interested in ports, obviously this one's kind of in a nice place, and I'm not far from that. So I'm going to go for that. I have 360 bucks. I can start one at 70. Seems like a good idea. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this corporation at 70. That's going to cost me 140 bucks. And we're all kind of starting in a row here. We'll pause when I get around. Right now there's two people who do not have a corporation between them. They're kind of spaced out. There's no guarantee which guy would get the corporation to start with. They don't have the cash for it. Maybe they can come to a deal. Let me stop and think about them. The decision's been made. This guy has decided to be an investor. This guy really was interested in having someone be his buddy, because if he can get control of a company and dump it, he can put this in there, grab 300 bucks from it. Yes, it makes 30 bucks around until the fives come, but you know, that gives you big starting cash to start a big company, invest in a lot of stocks and everything. And I really believe heavily in the rape and pillage concept in an 18xx game, and I think an 1830 based game is going to be good for that. Well, this guy's interest is more in the long term. He has this, which allows him to upgrade, I think, Ozu, right? Yeah, to green. Well, this railroad's already taken. This one might be nice in the long run, but I don't see anything that anybody really terribly wants to do that with. Although that link up would be valuable if it's done at the right time. And this one allows him to build through the mountains for free. Again, kind of interesting if you're near the mountains. This is the company he's interested in most. Or maybe this, you know, something that'll be able to cut through, and we'll see how the railways kind of start developing. But, again, that's something that he can't do until the threes come out. And I'd like to pick my company out of the second tier, not make it go through those 2 trains, see what kind of cash I can collect off of the people who are going to run hard. Given that there's only three corporations starting, I think there are going to be a lot of people running kind of hard. Maybe not hugely so, but we'll see. So after some definite screw-ups with the money, I had to recalculate and make sure everybody was right. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I cashed in another 1,000 into smaller bills because that may have been part of the problem. Money may have gotten, well, everybody had too much, as if I didn't pay for things. The minor or privates pay out, and I collected that money from everyone. Most of them, not a whole hell of a lot of cash going in. This guy, $30, that's kind of nice. Most of them are, many of the players are getting 25 here and here. Some obviously not getting anything, like this poor guy. He didn't win, you know. I think priorities here, again, I had to kind of reconstruct things. Now, nothing sold out. There wasn't that much money available, so our first company is, whoops, stupid little wooden things, this $75 space here for the Brown Railroad. Now, it's not going to get to make a run, so it's going to fall back, but I do get to decide what to do and to buy some trains. So I am this brown thing down here. I'm going to get my first token there. I have no idea what the long-range track is going to look like in this game, nor do I necessarily care. I'm interested in short-term cash. That tends to be the goal in an XX game, in almost every XX game, because you can almost always salvage your situation if you're rich enough. You may have a kind of lousy company, that's okay. You might be able to get better trains on it at the end, and that all works out fine. So I obviously want to hook up here, and that's probably my first move. Am I going to want to put a dot there? Good question. That looks like a very valuable location. Ozu eventually turns into something. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, I don't think Ozu has a special place, whereas Kochi does. That's interesting. Because as of right now, this is kind of valuable. The question is, how many directions do I want to go in? How many trains do I want? My view is, I'm going to want a train here, because it's going to be impossible to get beyond this. I don't have any real rail building capabilities, and if this company doesn't work well, that's okay. And maybe my other dot here, and then hope that nobody takes that over if I build track down there. So then the question is, well, which track do I need to build first, and how many trains do I need? Well, I need at least 2 trains. If I'm going to put a dot here right off, I can run here, and then eventually here. Okay, fair enough. I'll build myself this. I buy a dot. Dots always cost 40 in this game for whatever reason. So now I owe 40. And I'm going to buy 2 of these. That's 160. I'm allowed to hold up to 4 of them. So I owe $200. I went back because I didn't pay out. And we're going to have trouble handling things with these tiny money and tiny pieces, etc. But that's the first company. The second company comes over here, Black. What's he doing? Well, he's got this ferry. I could just activate that right away. Promising I got 50% of the company. I might as well make my money off of it. It doesn't close it down. But do I need to do that right now? I've got a city right here I can hit. I could hit this town. That says I can use 2 trains right off. I'll be getting to the 3 trains soon enough, then I can branch out into here and down this way. That sounds good. Do I want to get here? Someone else may build that track for me. Okay, so for my track lay, I'll put this into place. And I get my little token. I don't have any trains to run. And now I'm buying. I again want 2 trains. That's going to cost me 160 bucks. And I am not buying a dot. I won't be paying this much attention in the game in general. It's just, I always like to kind of play things out and explain them a little bit on the first playthrough. It's been a while since I played an XX, so I don't know how well I did with some of the other ones. So that puts us on, oh, I don't need to trigger this yet. I'll hold off on it just in case something else comes to my mind. But that is this one token that's a bonus. It might behoove me to play down here or here though, so I just want to hold off. There's no need to make the decision just yet because I'm not able to run my train. Pink guy here, he's going to be starting up here, and well, I'm not getting into here anytime soon. So then the question is, where do I want to go? These things are kind of terminal points, so I'd rather strike out this way, I think. My special ability is this Dogu. I can get EU Railway, which is this orange one over here. I'd like to build track to it. What the hell? You know, even if I don't hook it up, if I make it more valuable company, my stock that I've got, you know, that I can trade in at any point, well, up until the 5s, is of some value. So this little doinker's not terribly valuable, but this city is. Do I want 2 trains? Do I want to be in the same position as everyone else? Or do I want to fall behind a little bit? That's really the choices I'm given here. I don't think I have to decide yet. If somebody wants to buy a 3rd train, then I get to buy the first 3 train at 180 bucks. Yes, it's more expensive, but it's also lasts a little longer. So I think I only want 1 train at this point. So I'll build my track here. I'm gonna buy one of these for 80 bucks. No dots, nothing special. And the stock value goes down. And now, oh, this was the operating round. Now we pop back up to another stock round. And we'll see if anybody has enough money to buy another certificate. Always with the first round in an 1830 type game, you know, people are just losing a little bit of money on it. But the reason to do so is to get your shares allocated now. You know, you could lose the money a little later. You could hold off and buy after you see how many trains people buy. So a lot of people bought into this railway, and it doesn't look like it's going to produce money as quickly as some of the others. In fact, it probably couldn't have, and they could have seen that right away. But for example, this one is going to hit 2 cities right away. This one, he's set up to hit 2 different routes right away. Whereas, what is this? The Takamatsu Kotoshiba is you know, going to be operating a little bit more slowly and not making the big money right off the bat. All right, I'll look at the money, see if anybody buys anything. Oh, this guy had the big influx of 30 bucks. He was able to buy an extra certificate. He bought the thing that's going to produce the most money this next turn. It's the worst thing that he could buy. He's sitting right after that guy. He can't hold these 2 shares for very long, probably. He's given priority up right now, but look, if this guy wants to dump his company, now I get a company, right? No harm there. Maybe not one I can sustain, but that's fine. But a little bit later in the game, this company may start running its way out of cash. It started out kind of cash rich, but if it's going to spend big early on to produce lots of capital for everyone who's invested in it, well, being the guy taking a ride with 2 shares can be very dangerous. Right now, though, I'm safe. I'm probably going to be able to sell it I'll probably be selling it when I start my company, and there's a nice company available there. I think I'm going to be making good money with 4 certificates plus this big $30 a round thing. Other people are sitting on, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 4 here, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So, I kind of caught up with everyone else in terms of shares. An added bonus, I sold it out. Now, I could have sold this one out too, and that would have been a better choice for me in terms of safety. But that puts this one's stock value before we enter the operating round up to 75. And I'll run first the privates payout, and then I'll start running the companies. This one goes first as we work our way down, and everybody should be making some cash. Okay, so everything ran, and let's talk a little bit about what we saw here. Our brown company here just ran the track it's got, and it's starting to head over here to Kochi, which looks like a valuable place to be, at least in their region. And, well, once I hit that, I'll have room for a third train. We'll see what happens, because maybe, I'll be able to branch off out of here or shoot something down here or whatever. But right now, I got 2 trains, and that's what I want. The next one was our black company here, Awa. They ended up buying another train. Now, they're only running 2 trains here, but next turn they hit into here, they'll be able to run 2 trains, and pretty soon they'll have room for a 4th train cutting down here maybe. They're allowed still 4 trains in this era. It goes down to 3 trains here, but the 2 trains disappear at that point. That's pushing trains a little hard for this little company. You got to kind of worry about where they're going with that. I used my ability to build the port and then head out this way because I believe the wealth is here and here, and I don't really want to be in a position where I'm not reaching towards the wealthy areas of the board, where I'm like stretching down this way. There's just no value there. The final guy bought the first 3 train, and that means we're actually going to be jumping over into era 2. That means there's going to be 2 stock rounds in between each, or 2 operating rounds in between each stock round, and we can start buying privates. I could have bought this, however, I like the cash right now. I don't really want to pillage my company terribly much at this moment. Why didn't I? Another option would be to buy 2 3 trains. That's running hard and hot. But right now I don't have the capability to use all the trainage that I have. I probably would have been better off with the 2 2 trains. Also, there's a danger to having 2 3 trains. Notably, once you hit the 5 trains, you're only allowed 2 trains per company. Or is it the 4s? No, the 4s drop you to 3. Once you hit the 5 trains, you're only allowed 2 trains per company, I believe. Yeah, according to this. And that's going to mean that you're stuck with 2 3 trains, and you're going to have another company to get rid of that train. And it just takes away some of your flexibility. If you do have good runs, 2 3 trains can work out fine for you. You definitely don't want 3 of them. Except in a few games. And certainly it's a way to burn your company. So if you're going to dump a company on someone, getting 3 3 trains can work wonders for you. I think some of the sharks over in San Francisco actually are willing to buy 3 3 trains. I'd be very curious if you can't dump the company, and if you can't start 2 new companies with the cash that you generate from it, how that will ever help you. that's always kind of been a painful situation. I've done it a few times. I may have won games with it, but it's a really tricky position to fight your way out of, and certainly not one that I'd want to do in my first time with a game, even if it feels a lot like 1830 in a lot of ways. Okay, well, I think these extra tokens are to put on this chart. Maybe it's supposed to be a bigger chart. Maybe it's supposed to be part of the board along with some letters here. I don't know. I don't see any indication of that. It's a way of tracking the money. So this guy made 100, and I can use this mainly because I like to tell you, what things made. This thing made 100 a round. Black made 90, whereas red only made 50 a round, right? 30 plus 20. 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, two trains running here, and then the 100 here, 60 and 40. Of course, trains can run a number of locations equal to the number of the trains. Standard 1830 and all 18XX really. There are a few where doinkers don't count or count differently. 1853 they count weird. You have some trains that are able to go through those little towns more easily than through the big cities. Yeah, we got room for more. The amount of money was made on this round. People started filling out, not that guy, but other people started filling out their portfolio. This guy picked up another Awa. Not a terribly risky position. Would have allowed it to sell right away with this 3 trains, but it hasn't made its money yet. It's got some rich days ahead, and if a bunch of stock ends up in here handing it to someone, man, that's tantamount to handing the game away. Holding only 50% though. He probably doesn't want to hold the company, but he has only got the person directly before him that he can dump it on. So it might have been a good idea to get rid of it, but I don't know. I don't like doing that early. I think you lose too much off that. More stock being handled here. This guy has money for maybe another share. Maybe he's a little short. Nah, looks like he's just a little short. Nope, he's got 65 bucks, but there was nothing still available in the initial offering or anywhere for 65 bucks. But now we come to this guy. He's got enough money to start a company. He can't have as many shares as everyone else. Now he has this nice thing that's producing him 30 bucks a round. But I can't let this go. Basically, I'm going to be lower on shares than everyone else, although I've got this one nice thing making me money. I'm not making any stock profit off it, and this thing's going to make me money no matter what. So I'm going to sell all my shares and buy myself this Kochi line here. This is the Tosa Electric. I don't think it's a great company. Well, it's not bad. It's the next biggest company with three spaces on it. Yeah, nothing else is any bigger. So it seems like I'm going to get a good solid company, the best choice out there in terms of power overall in the game for dots, and I should be able to turn this around for 300 bucks in a turn or two and start another company. My hope here, run it kind of cheaply, maybe get a 4 train on it, but be looking to try to get the 2 5s. That's always a nice move. If you can get 2 of them, if you can get 3 of them, whatever. Getting the cheaper permanent trains is so good in an 1830 game. I'm assuming it's going to work here too. A lot of shakedown, which really kind of hurt the Tanwakatsu Kotohira electric rail. The Tosa has been started. These are our current positions. You can see this 4 things down in the yellow. That means it doesn't count against certificate limits. Nobody's really worried about that right now. There are 11 and 6 players. One thing though is this guy's out, which means his value goes up and he becomes richer. I don't like the little wooden discs. I like chits better, I think, because these too much likelihood that I'm going to knock something over, I feel like. We get a couple in here. They're going to pay out into the company treasury, which makes it a little bit more pleasant to pay out. There's not enough shares there. You can only have 50% there to begin with, but there's not enough there to really, make that a substitute for swallowing. But if you can get a couple of shares in there, it does kind of make some sense, because after a few operating rounds, you've basically taken a swallow in without anybody worrying about it, and that's very sweet. And I guess we're going to start the first operating round. There's going to be 2 now. And we'll start off, well, we pay out the minors, and then we start off paying the browns. And remember, people can sell, I got to throw a pile of money here. This thing's going to have $700. People can sell their private companies as well now that the 3s are out. So we might see people trying to raise some quick capital for starting a new company. There's only 2 more corporations left. That's kind of weak. There's actually 1 less corporation than in 1830. More privates, less real corporations. So it's going to be a little bit more competition to see who can get them. They're important because you get an extra share in your certificate limit, because 1 certificate counts as 2 shares there. Push our way into the second operating round this time around. We got 11 a share, 10 a share, 9 a share, I believe. Is the payouts now, and we don't know yet here. This, no big addition, no changes, but now it's hooked up, and it'll be making bigger money next turn, I believe. What are we running here? We're running a pair of deuces, so we can run a 2 here and a 2 here. We got room for more train, and we should have kind of counted on that. But what we didn't know was whether or not blue would be running out here. I do want a 3 train on this company, so I'm not sure why I didn't buy it on the off chance that I would get hooked up. But maybe it made the hookup more likely if I wasn't going to get as big an advantage off of it. I guess another interesting factor, this guy upgraded his city. He's got 3 trains on it. He only ran 2 coming out of here. By the way, this is the 5 train upgrade. So this is anything before the 5, after the 5, and then once you get the diesels. I think 1830 has a has a 3 train upgrade, but I'm not positive about that. But Red here, seeing that, hey, if you're building this way, you're going to hook me up. I don't need to deal with you. I don't have to pay this $80 for a little bit of extra income right now. I'm going to run through this little doinker town. I want to go here eventually. I'll probably have to pay that, but who has the mountain bonus? Somebody does. That's this one, the Beshi Mine. And then this Emmy, I think, is this space. Let's see what town it is. No, that's Onzu. There's another one. I don't know what railway this is. Is this the Doinker? The really tiny railway? Yeah, Takamutsu. He controls that hex. So nobody's going to upgrade that hex, which is another factor until this guy decides to do so. Which... And he has this interesting idea. This is the corporation that would want to do it. He's hoping to get control of it, but it doesn't look likely. And the only corporation that's near there is this one. This is actually a problem with this game. All 18xx's have this problem. Well, almost all of them. That the tiles cover up starting hexes for corporations. I find it easier to remember in most of them, maybe because I played with the boards a little bit. I know 56 is sometimes hard to remember where some of the towns that companies start in, especially if you play with the options where all the towns get shifted around, and it just doesn't make any sense to do that. That's something else. That's destinations or something. So we pay the miners out again. Nobody's sold a miner yet. I bet they're going to soon, though. And we push our way back up into a stock round. Here are our current values. And what did we make? The new company only made $9 a share, $90 running through here. He built this track. He doesn't want to spend money right now. mainly because he blew $300. He's planning on dumping 3 shares into there. Nobody really cares. That'll give him enough money to start another corporation. Unfortunately for him, he's got the priority right in front of him, which means he's going to get the last action. So if a bunch of people are interested in companies, he's not going to get the one he wants. He would like either this one or this one. He does not want this one. This is the shitty place to be. It works well in conjunction with this in the sense that they can operate together and kind of build track together. But it's just in a really crappy location, and it's the least interesting to him. He's gotten rid of his bonus here, but that's going to be $30 a round going in here. A lot of shares in here. It's not going to be a big money maker, but it's going to be kind of his feeder railway and may work well towards whatever his main railway is. And it has a lot of dots, so he can do cool stuff with it, right? The others, let's see, I don't remember what Brown made. Brown was running a 2, a 2, and a 3. That can't be right. I think just a pair of deuces, which would have been running at 60. No, he had the 3, didn't he? Couldn't have had it yet. So that would be 30, 70, and 60 is about 13 a share. That looks about right there. Again, paid it out. Everybody's kind of paying out here. Red came in at 15 a share. Kind of nice. He's running a little hard. He spent the mountain blasting money there. There's some definite worries about, how stable these companies are. I usually run my companies fairly stably, though. It's hard to tell who's doing what. I don't spreadsheet out the money that people are making throughout the game. You can look and say, well, he's only making 15, but he made 17 around. But he's got 60% of that 15. Of course, he has one of those, and he has 50% of that. And this is an iffy company, and this guy's sitting on 40% cranking it out. Now, this guy's almost certainly starting a company. Question is which one. He has control of Takamatsu, which makes this more interesting. And then he has this South Iyo Railway, which doesn't have any special abilities. But he might be able to leverage that into another company because he's sitting on $100 worth of hit power there that he can turn, he can sell that to a corporation and get an extra, he can grab $200 for that, which can really help you out a good deal, which is one of the reasons he wants to have a corporation, so he can turn that into cash and stocks, preferably another corporation. This thing, that was the one that ran quite well. This guy doesn't have a corporation yet. There are only 3 left. And we see which one's selling out, which one's dumping here. This thing, this thing is dumping. So he's going to be dumping shares and starting another corporation now. Corporations are rare in this game, so it's possible somebody may try to buy this sucker out. I don't know. This guy's almost certainly buying one, and this guy's almost certainly going to buy one. So there are your 3 corporations, and he's probably going to get the worst choice, the one he doesn't want. But it's better to have 2 corporations, I guess, than not. And I think we're going to see pretty much the game settle at this point. Nobody's got a dangerous priority on anyone else or anything. Well, I'm going to load this up because the video is probably long enough and it's bedtime for me.